Hi, aloha, and welcome to the That's Not Normal podcast. My name is Jennifer O'Neill.
And I'm Michelle Schneider, giving you a friendly reminder that if you like today's topic, please give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yes. So we are going to talk about um, people pleasing today. Now I know it's not normal. That actually is normal.
It's too common.
This is too normal. Everybody's made this normal. Um, in the universe's words, that would not be normal. However, we don't want that to be happening. So this is again going to go along with some of the things we talked about before with 3D mindset and a multi-dimensional mindset. So we had gotten in a conversation the other day, me and some friends, about people pleasing and how that affects your vibrational frequency. We got in the conversation because literally, I cannot tell you how many times in 1 week, and I'm not even kidding you, that this just kept coming up over and over and over again. Like, how do I do this? I don't want so and so to feel bad. How do I do this? That would make them feel bad. What if I don't show up for this? What if I like it's crazy. Like,
A lot of guilt.
yeah, once I started seeing it, once it was on my radar because of the conversation, it was just like, oh, there it is again. There it is again. There it is again. It was nuts how much it's showing up. And I have found it very fascinating. Again, I'm doing the BioWell reports, the stuff that where we scan the energetic field, and people pleasing is causing people a lot of problems. So I wanted to get into what that does to your frequency and why this is not a great mindset. In fact, it's a terrible mindset, truthfully. It's something that if you are a people pleaser, you're going to have to make some big shifts and changes if you want to continue to stay energetically healthy and physically healthy long term, because it will greatly affect your energetic system, which then affects your spiritual or your physical body. So it's going to be very important. I just find the whole concept kind of interesting. I get it. It doesn't mean that you're coming from a mindset of let's tick everybody off.
Well, I'm super guilty of this. I would say, especially growing up. Have I gotten better? I would say yes. I'm trying to learn better boundaries. But growing up, I do have this like just innate desire to like help people. I love to be so helpful. It gives me joy, but sometimes I can try and help people too much to the point where I'm sacrificing my own needs and desires.
Well, and to me, those are kind of two different things, helping people and people pleasing. So I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is your fault when it comes to people pleasing? What happens?
Well, it's like I want to go above and beyond. Like if somebody were asked me for like a project at work, when I was and like they needed it immediately, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, I really want to help them." I would drop everything that I'm doing just to immediately respond to them to other stuff that, I really should have been doing, where it's just like I want this person to like me. I want this person to see me in a good positive light. So I'm
So
going.
you want them to see you in a positive light, and this is what everybody else is going to be thinking and doing. So, but I like breaking this down a little bit. So, in an example like that, you drop everything. Now you're under the gun. Now you should have been doing some things that you didn't do. What happens within your system?
Well, I would think it probably stresses me out a lot more.
Yes, you think?
Yeah.
Because now we're having to manage things that we have put energy into something else. Now we're behind the gun. Now we have to manage things. The interesting thing is, if and when you do that, especially when a work environment or a family friendship environment, you have to be careful of these. What do you think is going to happen the next time that person's in a crisis or a quote unquote made up crisis in their brain? They're
I
going through
become the
this
go-to
system.
person.
Exactly. Now you're the go-to person.
Yeah.
Now you've created a relationship where how hard is it to get out of when you become their go-to people pleaser person?
real hard.
Yeah.
I
So
had that reputation when I worked for a soccer team, and I was just like, but I built up such a good reputation. Like everybody was like, oh my gosh, to the point where years later they come back to me now as clients and stuff. But I knew I had a boss, and he was just like, stop responding to emails immediately. But I have such like an ADHD brain where it's like if I don't do something right now, then it's not going to get done. So I would respond immediately like, "Yep, I can help. Yep, I can do that." And he was like, "Stop
but the
doing that."
problem that I see when it comes to the energy scans and you end up coming to see me in 20 years is the burnout and overexhaustion. Now we're running on such low reserves that your system, if we're not careful, will not begin to naturally replenish itself. So what people pleasers do is they have a couple problems. One is they tend to be empathetic. Um, and that doesn't mean an empath, although it can mean an empath. Now, remember, those are two different things, but in this case, it could be either. They typically are an empath or they're typically empathetic. And they give a lot of their energy, not understanding the cycle of return and replenishing and healing their energy as well. If there's not a balance, the body will start to run on such reserve that now we're going to see chronic fatigue, breakdown, things of that nature. We're going to see adrenal fatigue. We're going to see depletion within like kidney chi and all that kind of stuff. We're going to see things start to break down in a way that is definitely going to cause some physical problems. And I see this over and over again to the point where if you can't manage your own health, now we can't help anybody, anyways. The
Mhm.
interesting thing about being a people pleaser is unfortunately people use guilt and verbiage, whether that be intentionally or unintentionally. I do not believe that everybody intentionally is guilting people into doing what they want, especially a people pleaser. I believe that everybody wants to feel good. And therefore, if anybody in their life is acting differently than makes them personally feel good, there's a conversation, a comment, a look that translates, you're not making me feel good. Your actions do not align with what I want for you in my reality. Then the people pleasers alter their behaviors. Now we're running into a huge problem because once you start altering your behaviors, you start to veer very far away from your purpose, your intuition, your path, and you start to navigate your own free will, Akashic records, whatever that you want to call it. You start to navigate your own life plan from somebody else's direction and emotions. Oh, they don't like that. Better move this way. Oh, they don't like that either. Got to course correct. Oh, we got to do something different here. So, if you're going to run your spiritual train, your life train, based upon other people's emotions, you're going to be in big trouble. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking of like a people pleaser with a micromanager. Oh God, that's like the worst place you could be.
Are you talking about yourself or somebody else?
No, I'm just having all these like, yeah,
Because
memories.
we were just also talking about how you were trying to micromanage for half a minute.
Well, I
So,
mean, if you work for a micromanager and
yeah.
you are a people pleaser,
Oh, okay. I see what you're
not
saying.
great.
Okay. No, not a great combination. So, that is one thing when it comes to work, but you would not believe how much people do that in their personal life when it comes to friendships, you know, family, things of that
Mhm.
nature. It it has a huge influence, I feel like, and by it I mean family opinions, friend opinions, unless you are a certain type of personality, and especially if those opinions are strong. they can have a great influence in your life. And that is what those people want. They want to project their influence upon you so that they feel good. That's a problem because now, again, you've disconnected from your own intuitive senses, your own spiritual path, and you've tuned into theirs and what they want and how they want to navigate things. So then you start making choices and course correcting the way that they want you to, and then you wonder, why am I not happy? Why do I feel burnout? Why do I not like what I'm doing right now? What is this issue, and what happens if I stop doing this routine? What happens if I stop this job that I really am not in love with? Oh geez, everybody's going to worry about me, or my mother, my father's not going to like it. I don't want my children to judge me. My friends are going to be like, "What are you doing?" It's, you have all these things that now start to weigh on you, so you choose to people please when you're that type of person, instead of exploring life and navigating through life with curiosity and excitement in a way that can bring really cool things into your life. People pleasing is terrible. It's very interesting when it comes to quitting a job. That I just blows my mind. I've had a few people that I knew that were quitting jobs or starting new ones this month, of course, in the energy report. Um, then they started to panic because they didn't want to have that discussion. They were afraid of an employer's reaction. I was like, why does that matter?
They would
Honest
do it
to
to you in
God.
2 seconds. Yeah, like, they don't really care that much.
Well, that's the thing, is from a psychic standpoint, they're thinking of business. So yeah, are they going to throw a fit? Probably, most likely. Are they going to feel disappointed or be frustrated? They might, but you're talking about, it's their business. So the chances of them feeling like, oh no, I have to fill this position, that can happen. They can be frustrated. They can be upset. It can happen. They're under whatever work stress they're under. Now they have to fill in another position or pivot some of their stuff. But what's your loyalty there, especially when it comes to a job? That's like, I would never. It makes zero sense to stay in a position that is not serving you gratitude and happiness and bringing things in your life that you're aligning with. It just makes zero sense. There are so many jobs out there. You don't stay to keep the employer happy. It's just, that's crazy to me
No,
that
it is
you.
crazy. I've had those conversations with people before. They were
Yeah.
just like, "I can't leave, like, they need me." They will find someone else, like, they don't need you. Man,
Well, and that's what's really mind-boggling, is how many times I've seen people that said the company can't run without me, and I'm just shaking my head going, "Dude, the company so can run without you." And those are usually the people that are like wanting more money though, or like they're like, oh, they can't lose me. So they will definitely pay more. They will definitely give me these things that I want because they can't lose me. And it's like, those are the people that are like, the company is like, peace out. We do not need this, and we're not going to give you that much more money. We will find another person to fill this position. So business is business. Um, when it comes to family or friends or things of that nature, will it be uncomfortable not to people please people? Yeah. But again, that is an uncomfortable feeling for the moment. If you continue to move through life, navigating life with other people's feelings involved in a way that, I'm not talking about intentionally hurting somebody's feelings, that's different, If you are being, vindictive or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're just trying to be happier in life, and as a result of that, there are people in your life that are unhappy, a couple things. They typically don't stay unhappy for long periods of time. But if that's really going to upset their world, I have to tell you, they're looking in the wrong place anyways. They have a lot of pivoting that they need to do. If your actions are going to completely upset somebody's world to the point of, long-term uh trauma or something, you cannot live your life that way. They have to manage a lot more than whatever decision that you made. They have to be able to manage their own feelings. And feelings, when you're trying to manage people's feelings by people pleasing, by not upsetting them, it's interesting to me the people typically that you worry about the most. Like, for instance, if you have a habit of somebody or people in your life that you're like, oh, I have to worry about how they feel about this, how they feel about this. You have a person that is very much trying to gain happiness from the outside in, and they find it a lot easier to blame than they do to take responsibility and work from the inside out and work on their own path and their own journey. And when that's the issue, you're never ever going to do things right enough, long enough, or whatever to make those people happy. They're going to be very short lived bouts of emotions of, oh, I'm happy that you did that. I feel better about this, etc.
Yeah, you should never really have to manage other people's emotions. Like that shouldn't be your job. I mean,
You shouldn't have to, but that's not how anybody looks at it. Nobody looks at it as they're managing people's emotions. They're like, "Oh, I made them upset. I don't want to make them upset." It's their opinion. It's how they view things. It's like they don't look at it as managing somebody else's emotions. From a psychic standpoint, that is 1000% what you're doing. You're trying to make sure that they're happy for the moment, but you are going to fail at that job miserably if you have somebody who's chronically depending upon your actions and your verbiage to be a certain way for them to be happy. You will fail at that job. You are being set up to fail.
yeah.
If that person's happiness relies upon what you say, what you do, what choices you make, that is a lose lose situation all the way around. You're going to be unhappy. They're going to be happy for a micro minute, and that's it. And you're going to spend your whole life trying to please that person. So I would highly suggest, if that's you, that you revisit that relationship, because that person is not doing anything to self fulfill at that point. Now, I get it if people want to do things like, you know, rock climb and their mothers are worried. That's something different. That's something where there's a worrying for safety, and that's what mothers do, right? But if we're talking about switching jobs or changing jobs from this type of benefit to another one, or I want to spend my money on a down payment for a house, or I mean, just regular, things. I decided for Christmas we're going to do this, whatever. Like, those people need to be able to manage their emotional state when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, I think anything that you are doing that sacrifices either like your own beliefs, your own desires, your own like moral compass, just because you want to make somebody else happy, like that's a problem. But like
Well,
if
if you're a people pleaser, though, you have to revisit your belief system entirely, because
yeah,
your
so
belief.
I would say too, if there are people like how do you stop? Like what advice do you have for the people pleasers out there? Like what can they do?
Ask yourself if you're happy first. If you can answer that you are truly happy, I wouldn't worry about it. But if these instances you are not truly happy, then you need to understand that this is a temporary fix for those people when you try to alter your life plan. The other thing that I would say is there's long-term effects to this that are fairly serious.
Yeah.
It's going to affect your spiritual frequency 1000%. You're not going to be able to vibrate at a high enough frequency to manifest, bring things into your life. It's going to affect your intuition, etc. First of all, the second thing is it's going to affect your vibrational frequency that will then domino into your physical frequency. So it is going to take a toll on you long term. There's no way around it. You can't people please and not have it affect your health eventually. It's just the way it is. So now we've covered health and happiness, which to me are some of the biggest things that you want to watch for. So then my next question would be, I mean, is it worth it? Is putting your health frequency, your physical health, your own happiness on the line worth it? If it is, that's your decision. That's your decision. And we all have to be fine with that as well. But you need to ask yourself if it's worth it. I mean, do you want to go through life doing what's expected of you, or do you want to go through life always searching for joy and happiness and in learning how to enhance your life experience? In my opinion, that's what we're here for. We're not just here to learn and grow from the catalysts in our chart. We're also here to learn how to be more joyful, how to pivot in a way that we're happier, how to navigate from a place of love and fun and experience.
And to just
And
create the
to
life.
create,
Yeah.
yeah. And so if you've decided well, truthfully, if you've decided that that's worth it, you're listening to the wrong podcast altogether, so you might as well just shut us off now, because this podcast is about what's happening energetically with your body, how to keep your frequency at the highest place, how to work within a multidimensional mindset, how to manifest on a greater scale, how to be more in tune with universal energy, how to really live a different life experience than most of the other people, than the majority. And so, yeah, if that's okay with you, then like I said, you're probably in the wrong space anyways. So, um, happiness and what I find very interesting is since when, and I would ask yourself this because it probably wasn't true when you were little. However, it could be true for some people because they're just born that way. When did everybody else's happiness become priority over yours? That would be the next thing I would ask myself, because if you're a people pleaser and if you find yourself doing this often, you definitely need to find out, when did other people's happiness become primary and yours become secondary? Because when you're working within, let's say, a family unit and you have a spouse and children, that's one thing, because you're sort of putting the children ahead until they grow up, and but there is sort of, and I know I don't talk about timelines, but there's a section of your life that it kind of makes sense, because
Yeah.
sometimes you get joy in seeing them grow. You get joy in watching them become beautiful humans, and experience things. You get joy through watching through their experience. And so there is some type of give and take. And not to mention, kids love you unconditionally. So there is this give and take within a child relationship where they're just so loving to you and they're opening their heart to you anyways. So you're wanting them to do well, you're people pleasing them somewhat, they're loving on you. So it's a healthy relationship. You know, when you get into a situation where you're working with other adults, however, and you are sacrificing some aspect of yourself, If it's a spouse and they are also reciprocating and want to see you be joyful and encouraging you to do things for yourself and your life, again, we have that reciprocal thing happening with love and joy and a healthy relationship. It's when we run into the issue where we're people pleasing people who are never happy or are constantly wanting us to people please them. Now we're running into an issue. We're in a toxic relationship. We are dealing with toxic energy. We are working with very flighty results. They're not going to last very long. And now you're probably not going to be happy any ways because there's no reciprocation going on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm like having the realization that I don't think I've really ever prioritized myself most of
Oh,
my
jeez.
life. I'm not gonna cry. I'll
I
try not.
I was gonna say, "Oh, Jesus, do we have Kleenex? What's happening?" Oh, we went
No
over to
tears,
the
but
edge.
like growing up, I don't think I ever prioritized myself. I would say recent years, yes, more so. But yeah, there's a lot
Okay,
that I just
so
didn't.
this is a good thing for anybody listening. Why do you think that you didn't prioritize yourself growing up?
That's the thing. I don't really know. I just wanted everybody else to be happy. I didn't want to make a fuss. I didn't want my mom to be worrying about one other thing. I didn't want to be a problem.
So, just so that you know, that is typically when you are born an empath. You can sense their unhappiness and
Yeah.
you can feel their energy shift when you adjust your behaviors. So that's typically where that empath thing
Okay.
starts.
Pulling it together. Not gonna cry.
Oh, so, well, I have the empath books, which I know you've read,
Yeah.
but you adjust your frequency so that their frequency is adjusted.
Yeah.
When you don't have the self awareness of that, and then you continue a pattern, you move into some toxicity as you become adults. Now, my next question is you said you are not typically doing that now. You feel like you've done a better job of not doing that now, right?
Well, yeah,
What
because then I started thinking of, like, the toxic relationships, getting out
right,
of those toxic relationships, yeah.
right. So what I know the answer to this, but I don't think everybody does. What do you think made you pivot?
My health.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
Exactly. You will get to a point of breakdown
I was pretty much
health-wise.
dying.
Yeah. You will get to a point of breakdown and your health oh, geez. See,
I'm
we just
really
could have
trying not
ended.
to, like
No, that's
I'm gonna
okay.
have to change the name of this podcast to Michelle's crying again, like,
Michelle's crying again. Or you're healing again. You look at it that way, right? Crying is releasing and releasing is healing. So that's okay. Um, but this is what people do to themselves. They sacrifice their energetic to a fault, and then you're stuck with what's left. And then trying to correct that after a while is hard sometimes because you don't have the knowledge. If you can course correct before you get to a situation like you did, where your health is greatly affected, I feel it's a lot easier. You will see results fairly quickly, but it's a struggle when it comes to chronic or severe health issues. Um, to kind of let the body repair itself takes more time,
right.
right? So this is why we are having this kind of podcast and conversation, because it is an easy fix. However, it's not easy if you don't recognize it. So I think that that was probably something that wasn't on your radar that we might be able to bring to somebody else's radar right
Mhm.
now, because it's probably something you weren't thinking about when you were in those situations, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really thought about that before. I mean, before we've had this conversation, I mean, that was kind of a big, like, enlightening
Epiphany.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah, so well, I mean, so it's good for you too, because now once you recognize and have the self-awareness of a characteristic that is a lovely characteristic but needs to be directed properly, You won't do that again. You will understand that, especially with you in particular, because you ended up with some very severe health issues with it, that your health is just too important. And if you're really a pleaser too, what I tell all people pleasers are, you can't help anybody once you start to break down.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't. You don't have the energy, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the mental ability to. You are trying to, you know, live and heal and get through a sickness when your body breaks down to that point. And interestingly enough, a lot of those people check out of your life during that time because you're not now feeding that consistent habit and the routine that you've created with these people, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important. And it's very important to understand, especially as an empath or even as a regular person, why and when. Why and when did you start this process? And understand that once you become an adult, you have to monitor this characteristic carefully so that you stay the healthiest version of yourself. If you're fully energized, fully healed, and you are living your best life and your energy reserves are high, it's fine to help people and do things that um, you might think might enhance their life. But to alter what you're doing, regardless of being healthy or unhealthy, to alter what your personal desires are that are in tune with your spiritual body and your intuition in a way that feels life enhancing, positive, and happy, that is a problem
Problematic.
problematic, thank you. A problematic characteristic is what I was trying. I just merged them together. We're just gonna make it
Keywords.
new word. It's a problematic characteristic, and it's not one that I think that people should take lightly. I think that people like to view themselves that way because people will talk about you in such a fond way. Oh, they'll do anything for you. It feels wonderful. If that's where you're getting your good feedback from, you need to do something else to get your good feedback. You know, you be loving, be whatever, but have a boundary, have a line. You prioritize you. Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Gosh.
We're just going to process now. We're going to get off this
Got a lot to
podcast
digest.
and we're going to process and digest with the rest of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born a Scorpio, so like I don't know. I came out of the womb, I think, going, I was very aware of the people pleasing aspect, and if somebody was um expecting me to do something that would make me unhappy, I always had questions. Like, I mean, I would be like, well, why? Well, why would I do that? Like, I was curious, like, well, that just, and then I would weigh it against what I was thinking, and I'd be like, is this like, because, you know, sometimes you can choose, like, okay, this doesn't seem to have a huge impact. So, okay, yep, this is a fair exchange.
I was not born that way. I'm a Pisces. I'm nothing but emotions.
Yeah. So yeah, I always did a good job of that aspect for the most part. I didn't do it always perfectly. I'm not perfect. I learned the boundaries and the structure by not doing that and regretting how I felt afterwards. Not regretting doing it, but regretting the way I felt afterwards,
Yeah.
depleted or frustrated, or I missed an opportunity that I decided I never wanted to miss again, or, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
But that's again how we learn and grow.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be chronically there. It's okay to do it sometimes and to weigh the give and take of it. It's okay to do that. That's healthy. But you don't want to chronically be there because that's not healthy and it will
Yeah.
affect your frequency.
Yeah.
100%. All right. So comment below. Let us know if you're a people pleaser or if you were born with Scorpio traits, I guess.
Or if you're an emotional Pisces like myself.
Or emotional Pisces. Actually, what's your sign? I would like
Yeah,
to know what your sign is and if you're a people pleaser or not a people pleaser. That would be very interesting.
would
So
be.
let's have people post that below. Maybe we'll put that in our Facebook group. That would be very interesting. I think I'm actually going to do that. All right. So hopefully you found this helpful. Until next time.
Yes, like the video if you enjoyed today's topic and subscribe if you haven't already.
All right. Have the most amazing day. Aloha. Bye.
Bye.